welcome to a special edition of the Walk on Red Shirts podcast. I'm William, and we are without our godfather, Jake, but we have a special guest here, Jordan Leggett, first time All-ACC, our first team All-ACC, Mackey Award finalist. You should have beat Hunter
Piss
Henry
me
over
off.
that. That was
Oh my
awful.
god.
You're robbed. National champion and a husband and father of two. Last but not least, husband and father of two. What's going on, Leggett? Thanks for coming on. How you doing?
I appreciate y'all having me. Like I mentioned, I've been watching y'all's podcast and I've been kind of waiting for y'all to reach out. So this is exciting.
Yeah, we got the legend, one of the best tight ends in Clemson history, so we had to get it with tight end being one of my favorite positions. I came in as a tight end, not that my history is important, but they found out I'm a lot better at eating than I am at running. Leggett, on the other hand, is pretty good at running, catching, and doing the whole football thing, which you'll find out if you didn't know already. So I want to get started with your family. So first
Mhm.
off, congratulations on the two kids. Having two
Appreciate it.
kids is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, so I'm sure it's pretty tough for you. It's between that and mat drills. But you come from a pretty big family, right? I mean, what you got? Three brothers, two sisters. What you got going on over
Exactly. I got one older brother. I'm the second oldest. Two younger brothers and two younger sisters. So we got a squad.
there? Yeah.
The
Well,
family goes.
speaking of a squad, what is in your gene pool? So your brother also played in the NFL. You played in the NFL. Your
Mhm.
brother played safety at Texas Tech, I believe, and then your two
Yep.
sisters play collegiate basketball, South
Mhm.
Alabama and Troy, I believe. What in the hell is going on in the Leggett family?
I don't know what it was. I think we got it from my mom. My dad claims that he was the most athletic, but he only played baseball. So nobody in my
Yeah,
family's ever played football until me and my older brother started. And we actually
yeah.
went to our first day of padded practice with like not knowing where to put the pads in the pants and stuff. So we had no idea about football. But my mom is from the United Kingdom. She was actually her whole family is from like Hungary. Me and my older brother were actually born in Huntingdon, England. So like
Oh,
over there, like school wise, they play a lot of sports. And my mom was 5'11" as well, which also helped us as far as height goes.
yeah.
So we've just always been drawn to sports. I mean, our whole lives growing up, it's just always been sports. Always, we're never not doing anything. We're always doing playing and running around. So
That's awesome. Now, was it always football for you once you learned it? And when did you move from the? I didn't realize you lived overseas. When did you come over? Uh,
yeah, so it's I was young. I mean, I was probably like 1 or 2 years old. So I mean, I don't remember that area at all.
yeah, you don't wake up every morning and be like, "Ah, top of the morning to you." That those
Nothing
come
like
out
that.
every now and
I'm not eating tea and biscuits and fish and
then.
chips. No,
Crumpets.
but I definitely want to go back over there at some point. But what was the original question?
Oh,
Oh, what sports did I play?
yeah. What other sports? Was it just football, or did you dabble in other stuff?
So growing up, I did a lot of baseball because my dad played baseball. Middle school is when we started. Me and my older brother, we started playing football. We started as linebackers because my dad was a big Steelers fan and the whole steel curtain thing.
Yeah.
But you know me, I don't hit anybody. So defense was not the role. Me and my brother both we switched to offense and started playing receiver. I played receiver all the way until I got to college. I also played basketball a lot, which I really enjoy, and I still really enjoy playing basketball now.
Good.
All right, so back to my story. So when I got to all throughout high school, I played football and basketball all the way up until sophomore year. I found myself traveling a lot to do football camps. My dad had me all over doing 7-on-7s, going to visit colleges and things like that. And then he eventually sat me down and asked me, he's like, how many players are on a team in the NBA? And I'm like, I don't know, 13 to 15. He's like, what about the NFL? And I'm like, I don't know, 50 players. He's like, all right, we're going to stick with this then. Like, you have a better shot at doing this. So that's exactly what I did. Junior year, didn't play any basketball. And then senior year, I enrolled in Clemson early, so I missed basketball season as well. So
Wow.
love
Awesome.
basketball, but didn't get to play as much as I wanted to.
No, that's pretty cool. So, and do you think that helped you in football at all? Like, have being so good at basketball and playing it, or playing baseball. Do you think any of those skills translated over to the game?
I think honestly, any sport where you're running around, I think every sport teaches you something different. Baseballs, I mean, more hand-eye coordination, which I think definitely played a role in my catching ability. And then basketball is just like it's really just like lateral movement and like
Yeah.
explosiveness and like a lot of jumping. So I definitely think every sport plays a very unique aspect in like how I got to where I was in football.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize that. So, let's jump into you enrolling early at Clemson. So, three-star tight end. Were you a receiver or a tight end coming out of high school? You're listed as both.
Yeah. So That's the funny thing. I guess I gotta give props to my dad. So every time you go to like one of those combines or whatever in high
Mhm.
school, they kind of split you up with whatever position you're playing. So for me, I knew I wasn't as fast as the receivers. So my dad actually told me to like, hey, go do with the tight, like go with the tight ends. Like we're not blocking or anything. We're just doing the same thing as receivers, but now we're doing it against like linebackers and stuff. Which I knew I was faster than linebackers. I played receiver my whole life, so I was super good at route running. So I did super well in all those drills, and that's kind of why throughout my junior and senior year when I started getting offers, I was getting offers as, hey, we want you to play receiver. Clemson came in, hey, we want you to play tight end. FSU, we want you to play tight end. Mizzou, we want you to play receiver. So Louisville wanted me to play receiver. So everybody wanted me for like a different role,
Yeah.
ultimately.
So well, your dad seemed to be ahead of his time. I mean, that's the new thing now, where you have a guy who has a very sharp and precise wide receiver skill set, and then but he's got a bigger body, and they put him at tight end. And he's able to get those matchup nightmares. So that's pretty cool that your dad was able to see that. I mean, when you're in high school, that
Yeah.
was before people started doing that. So that's pretty cool.
I think he just realized just like I did, I was just slower than the rest of the receivers. So he's like,
Yeah.
we got to figure this out.
So I mean, you couldn't have been that slow. I mean, that's the 68th best player in Florida. I mean, that's nothing to shrug at when
Mhm.
especially such a big football state like Florida. But why Clemson? And who recruited you?
Yeah. So who recruited me from Clemson was Coach Morris. The first time, so I never even heard about Clemson until the Clemson West Virginia bowl game, which
Oof.
Clemson was kind of like the laughing stock at that point.
Yeah.
I got my first offer junior year. That was my first time that Clemson ever came to talk to me. They gave me my first offer. So I just love the fact that they took a shot on me. I mean, I was a little kid in Navarre, no offers, kind of playing in between tight end and receiver. So they came down, Coach Morris, Coach Scott, and Coach Pearman. I mean, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Coach Scott, I mean, he's super good at recruiting. He had like a projector screen connected to his iPhone, showed me like a fourth quarter video or something at Clemson. I absolutely loved it. So it was just, and I grew up like 2.5 hours from Tallahassee. That was kind of like the team growing up. Um, but they never recruited me. They never recruited me, never offered me, never did anything until after Clemson came. So once Clemson came, maybe a week or two later is when FSU started recruiting heavy, they threw me my offer as well. So I kind of took that as a slap in the face. And my whole thing was I want to play with elite competition, but I don't want to go to the SEC. Because I feel like people that go to the SEC, I mean, either you're going to be one of those outstanding players or you're not going to play until your redshirt junior year or something like that. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
wanted to go to a conference where talent was going to be elite, which I figured the ACC was going to do that for me, as well as I wanted to get very far away from home. I feel like people that if I would have went to Tallahassee, that probably would have been an issue as far as going back home every weekend. Just I feel like there's so much trouble involved with that. So I just wanted to take a chance and go far from home, like kind of create my own like identity for myself, make new friends,
Yeah, for sure.
and it worked out. So
Yeah, that's pretty badass. So Florida State, Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher, I'm assuming, was the coach then. What's that like with him
mhm.
sitting in your living room trying to recruit you? With everything we know now.
Yeah, I mean it was cool. I mean, I actually never even met the guy. It's kind of funny. So I never met him. Their tight end coach, I forget what the guy's name was. He was the one that actually came to my high school and gave me my offer as well. But it's kind of funny that later in the year, I think maybe junior senior year, when I was doing well at Clemson, we have like this award banquet back home. It's called like the Panhandle something. It's a pretty big deal, and they have like a keynote speaker. And Jimbo Fisher was the keynote speaker that year, and he was actually the one that had to present me with like my award, which
Oh,
I
that's
thought
awesome.
was super cool and super unique for the fact that my best games were against FSU, and just the
Yeah.
fact that they never recruited me it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so to kind of segue into that, some of my favorite catches of yours, it's strange when we're friends, we're peers, and then I
Mm-hmm.
also loved watching you play football. It's weird, like you come into that environment, and it's like, man, I looked up to these guys my whole life, and now I'm next to these guys, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
still looking up to you. So that's pretty badass. So a couple of my favorite plays, the Florida State touchdown in
Mm-hmm.
2016, where you had dive into the end zone. Very
Yep.
similar Notre Dame in 2015,
Yep. The
diving
hurricane
into the
game.
end zone. The hurricane game, the monsoon.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the national championship, that catch you had gets overshadowed by Hunter Renfro's catch. If you don't make that badass, I call it a back shoulder catch, that ball was 5 yards behind you. Catch. That play never happens, and maybe we go to overtime, maybe we lose. I mean, those are some of the coolest catches, but one of the most unique catches that I'm sure you remember the story. We're playing in the Orange Bowl against Ohio State down at, I think it was 2013, and one of our, I'm not going to call out who, but one of the other tight ends got hurt before the game uh, during bowl week. I'm not going to say what, I'm not going to go under the bus, but
Yep.
you got into the game, and there was a play call where you got the ball thrown to you down the sideline. You got hawked down, and everybody was laughing at you.
I
But
did. I did.
how was that? And what was your favorite catch?
That was, I mean, that was a super special moment. I think that Coach Morris, obviously, you remember him. He had so many different plays. So much was going on in his head. So we had this one play. I knew this was probably the only play I was going to have. And when they called it, I was very excited. I mean, I was a freshman. I mean, I think I had like 200 or 300 yards my freshman year, maybe 3 touchdowns. So nothing. I mean, it was cool. I got to play my freshman year, my true freshman year, but being able to help out in the bowl game, I think was like probably the coolest thing as far as my freshman year went. Even though I didn't score, I did get walked down, which is fair. That was probably the most fun part of my freshman year. As far as the most special catch, that's a tough one. It really is. I would say FSU would probably be my most favorite catch, my most favorite game. I mean, people expect me to say the national championship, but it was probably the Notre Dame game. And I don't even know why. I guess it was just the aspect of the stands were completely full the whole game, and it was literally a torrential downpour. And it was, I don't know. That's just like one of the memories that you just will remember for a lifetime. So probably FSU catch, and my favorite game was probably the Notre Dame game in 2015.
I feel like that was one of the most electric crowds I had ever been in my entire
Oh,
life,
yeah.
and I could probably almost recite every single play from that game. That was unbelievable, and yeah, that was a badass play. And not to get too dark. So your freshman year, you've moved away from home. You kind of got into a little bit of trouble uh, during your freshman year. How did you navigate through that, being away from your parents, being away from people that you trusted, your whole life, and I mean, and then honestly, from my perspective, I got to see you grow as an athlete and as a human being. All 4 years that you were there. What do you kind of you know what helped you get to that place?
Yeah, I guess obviously in college, there's a lot of different groups of people. And I think freshman, sophomore year, I definitely fit in with the wrong crowds. And that kind of took a toll on myself and it definitely affected football. I mean, I got suspended for a game my freshman year. Got in a lot of trouble, had to do a lot of sprints and stuff after practice. And then sophomore year, I got hurt my freshman year, I got hurt my sophomore year. And I kind of just, instead of like putting the blame on myself, I kind of like just kept pointing fingers, like blaming other people. When at the end of the day, I sat down my sophomore year because I was going to transfer. I was going to leave. I was going to go to UCF, who I think went 0-13 the following year. So thank God I didn't. But I was going to transfer. And then I don't know what happened. Maybe just a light bulb went off in my head. But I just decided to get to work. I mean, we had a lot of changes coaching staff-wise. Coach Morris left. We had 2 OCs. There was a lot of uncertainty. So, I mean, I didn't at that point think I was going to go on to play in the NFL. I kind of just like, hey, let's just finish this out strong. Like, you're close to getting your degree. Let's just like finish this. And that's kind of like the mindset I took over versus like blaming other people for my injuries, my mistakes, me doing things off the field I know I shouldn't have been doing. So I'd probably say that. And then as well as my wife, just meeting her in college, she definitely kept me locked in on the right things. And I mean, kept me out of bad situations. I wasn't hanging out with the same crowds. I didn't really have time for that anymore. So definitely, yeah, I would say my wife, and then just changing my mindset.
Man, that's pretty awesome. It's really cool to see someone. I mean, it seemed like you were at a fork in the road. It's like, hey, I can continue down the path that I'm on now, or I can change something. And the fact that you changed and did some of these things, I mean, it worked out pretty well from my perspective. So, kudos to you. I mean, that's awesome, especially being away from your parents. You know, they're a couple states away. They're hundreds of miles away. It's not like you can just walk into
Yeah.
the other room and talk with mom and dad. And be like, I don't know how to handle this situation. And honestly, a lot of situations you were in, like they weren't because of you. Your injuries, is something
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
that's external. Some of the things that happened that led to the suspension. There was external factors, so I can see
Yeah.
how you would be like, what the heck? This isn't my fault. Why does this keep happening? So I mean, that has to be tough as a young man to be able to sit down and like, you know what, let me just remove myself from that completely
Yeah.
and see what happens. So, kudos to you. So I want to segue into your NFL career.
Hmm.
And before we do that, I have one of my favorite stories of all time that involve you. So my brother was a huge fan of yours. My brother's older than me. He's in the Air Force. He had he had gotten out of the Air Force and moved in with me and was working uh, with my now father-in-law.
Hmm.
And we went to the bar one night. It was a Wednesday. They were doing Taco Wednesday. No, it's Taco Tuesday. Duh.
Yeah.
And you're at the bar, and I was like, "Oh, let's go sit with Leggett." My brother was hyped. He was fangirling, and we're sitting there, we're drinking, and my brother's like, "All right, I got to drive. I got to stop drinking." And my brother drives a stick shift. And you looked at him, he goes, "What? You're gonna stop drinking? It's not even 9 o'clock yet. Like, come on, man. Like, really? You're gonna be that soft?" My brother's like, "No, no, no. You're not gonna call me that. You're not gonna call me that." My brother hands me the keys, and I'm like, "Max, remember, I cannot drive stick." He goes, "You're gonna be all right." My brother tries to drink with you. It does not work well, and I had to learn how to drive stick that night with my drunken brother. So that was pretty awesome. So thank you for that. You
It was
taught
a
me a
bit of
life
a
lesson.
family bonding moment. How did it go? Did you stall out, or was
No,
it pretty smooth
it was the
sailing?
best. So he had tried to teach me before, but he was sober. When he was drunk, he was a great teacher. He was patient. He didn't get mad. He wasn't flipping
Yeah.
out. So it actually worked out well. He woke up the next
Awesome.
morning. He goes, "Dude, I was scared the entire time. I thought you were going to destroy my car." But we got home. It was awesome. But during that night, you know, I knew you had been going to the draft process had been happening for you. I don't know if the combine had happened yet. I think it had. And I was saying like, "Hey, I've been reading all these mock drafts, and a couple of these places want you. Where do you want to go?" And you said, "I don't care as long as it's not the New York Jets." That's probably one of that you jinxed it. You jinxed it because I don't know
Sure enough.
if y'all knew it, but he got drafted by the New York Jets. So tell us about that process.
Yeah. So my wife and her whole family grew up in Boston, and as you can already guess, they're big Patriot, Bruins, Celtics fans. Die hard. My father-in-law's got the whole Super Bowl fake set of rings on his desk.
That's awesome.
So that was funny itself. Just the fact that I'm going to their biggest rival. Draft day, I was excited. I also was pissed off for the fact that I went so late. I definitely thought I should have went higher, but then I look back at this draft class of tight ends that I was in, and it was kind of unheard of. I mean, we had 3 tight ends go in the first round. I think George Kittle went either right before me or
Right
right
before
after
you.
me. So
Yeah.
it was a very loaded tight end class. I think 20 tight ends got drafted that year. I got drafted to the Jets. I mean, it was. I guess the only reason I didn't want to go there was just New York. I've never been a big city kind of guy, and just in my mind, I'm thinking New York Jets. I'm gonna be in New York, and I was kind of upset about it. But there's no team in New York beside the Buffalo Bills. Everything New York Giants and Jets is in New Jersey. So when I got up there, it was very different. The people were different. The whole atmosphere is different. You can't pump your own gas. It was just, it was a lot to get
Yeah.
used to. The taxes were terrible. People were rude. It was just different. But I do look back at it now, and I thought it was a great experience. I mean, I took my wife with me, just to be up in that part of the U.S. It was pretty cool just to say I did it. I mean, I got to go into the city. Everybody that wanted to come up to see me wanted to have a tour of the city. So me and my wife were pretty much like professional tour guides at that point. So it was special. I mean, it was a lot of fun, especially Christmas time in New York.
Oh, I bet.
That's pretty cool. If you've never experienced it, I would definitely recommend
What,
doing
what
that at
about
least once.
what about Christmas time in East Rutherford, New Jersey?
I mean, that's technically where I lived at. I mean, I lived in New Jersey for the 2 years that I was there, and like I said, it was probably just the people. The people
Yeah.
were the only thing that like kind of put me off of it. I mean, I sat there and held the door for a lady at Chipotle, And she was walking from not too far of a distance, maybe 10 or 15 feet. She's like, "Hey, don't do that." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like,
Really?
don't hold the door. Like, I don't need you to do that." I'm like,
All
"All right,
right. Let me
here
shut
we
up real
are."
quick. Yeah.
I mean, you walk around anywhere in the South and you can wave to some random person on the street. You don't even know. Like, you'll give them a nod or give them a wave or whatever.
Yeah.
Not in New York. Like, no, they
No.
don't even want to talk to you.
My wife's from Vermont, and I wave at everybody. I talk to everybody, I
Mhm.
wave to everybody, and she's like, "William, you've got to stop." And I'm like, "It'd be weird if I didn't do that. You got to wave at everybody." She's like, "Do you know them? Why are you waving at them?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah,
The,
I just
the
love the
New
South.
Englanders. Yeah, it's
Love the
awesome. So,
South.
so you leave New York, you go to Tampa, if I believe,
Mhm.
if I remember correctly. Was Tom Brady there when you went?
No. So I think my whole career in the NFL, I think we won a maximum in total of 8 games. So I got there with Jameis Winston.
Okay. So you were at the tail end of Jameis Winston's tenure.
So I like Jameis a lot. He was actually a super cool guy. I think he did a lot of maturing. But he was a very cool person. Tampa was awesome. We absolutely loved it. I was there, and it ended up. I think I had the was it COVID year? No, I had the full year, and then COVID hit going into my second year. So I think right before camp started was when they announced that they got Tom Brady. Everybody's excited. I know my wife's super excited. And the next thing I know, I mean, business is it's just business. His best friend comes out of retirement, and he happens to play the same position as me. So it just works out that way.
So
And
I can't like Gronk anymore. That's bullcrap.
I actually screenshotted because I was wearing number 87 at the time in Tampa Bay. So I actually have a screenshot of him texting me and like asking for the number.
Did you
Regardless
charge
of
him
if I'm
for
going
it?
to say yes or no, it
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Now you know what it's like to feel like a walk on when you walk in there like, hey, what number do you want? By the way, you can't have this one, this one, this one. And if a 5-star comes in after you, they're going to take that one from you too.
I definitely was able to experience that one with Gronk. So
No, well, and you caught your first touchdown for Tampa Bay, did you not?
I actually caught my first touchdown for the Jets. I didn't play my whole, I say freshman year, my whole rookie year. I did not
You
play
had
at
a
all. I
knee
got
injury,
injured.
correct?
And then my second year, I think I caught like a 5-yard touchdown. But you best believe I got posters of that blown up all over the house, the
That's
ball
awesome.
from that catch and everything like that. But I only scored one touchdown in the official game, and then I scored another touchdown in Tampa Bay, but it was during preseason, so I don't even know if that counts.
Oh, it counts. It counts. It counts in my book.
It
And
counts
then
for me too.
you leave Tampa and you go to Denver, I believe was your stop. Uh,
So we were in Tampa, and then after that, I don't think I got picked up before the season started. So I was still working out, training. We were still living in Tampa at the time. My wife was pregnant at the time because our son came in November. So I kind of had to talk with my agent. I told him, I was like, hey, because I think I haven't been picked up since like October at this point. So I told him, I was like, hey, I want to wait until after my son's born before I sign with the team. I want to be here for it. So, all right, sounds good. Sure enough, me and my wife, we go into the delivery room. We have Teddy, very tough birth. I don't wish that on anybody. He ended up being great and fine, but he actually had to be in the NICU for maybe 10 days after. And it was
yeah.
like during COVID at the time. So we were only able to stay there for whatever it was, like the 2 days that they allow parents to stay. So we had to do what no parent likes to do is like to leave the
Oh
hospital, like
man.
going in to have a baby and leaving without a baby. So we had to leave. He was there for 10 days. We were able to go see him every day, but we were only allowed to go once. We could stay for as long as we want, but we could only go once at the time. So it was a mess. And then my agent called me at the time, like during this 10-day span. He's like, hey, Denver wants to sign you. I kind of had a conversation about what was going on with them. They said, we don't need you. We need you pretty much 2 days from now. So I kind of stuck around for a little while. Like I said, we're going back and forth to the NICU. And then once we found out like he was okay and everything was good to go, like my wife was like, go, like go. He's good. We're good to go. Like go ahead and do it. So I left, went to Denver. So I was there for like maybe 2 months. He was born November 6th, left on like the 10th. Season ended like January 5th. So I was there for about 2 months. Then at that time, FaceTiming the family during Christmas. I missed my son's first Christmas. And at that point, I was like, you know what, this kind of isn't worth it. So Denver released me, I think, middle of January. And at that point, that's when I was like, I don't really want to do this no more. Let me go jump into corporate life and be with my family. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So
That's awesome, and that's tough. I mean, I don't think people realize like you've played sports your whole life, you've played football your whole life, and then you know, it seems like you kind of left on your own terms, but that is still
mhm.
tough. I mean, it's hard not to have your identity wrapped around this sport. I mean, it consumes you. You're playing it year round. You're preparing for it year round, and I know that's a really tough thing for a lot of people to do. And was that something that you struggled with, or do you think having family
Yeah,
help?
I had a lot of support. We my mother-in-law, she's been super helpful as far as like financially goes. She set me up with the right people as soon as I got to the league. We just made a lot of smart decisions as far as that goes. So financially, we were good to go. So I wasn't nervous on that aspect. But at the same time, somebody told me the other day when talking about just NFL players that go broke, people like once you get to the league, you're what, 21 years old or something like that. Typical career is about 2 years. So let's say 25, you get out of the league. He brought it in the realization for me, but he's like, you made the most money that you'll ever make in your career of doing whatever else you're about to go do. Like as soon as you got out of college, and now you're about to go get a $75,000 job,
Yeah,
and you
what
were
the
over
hell is
here
this?
making $500,000.
Yeah,
And that was kind of like a mind blowing realization. It's like, yeah, wow, I made like the most money I'll ever make in my life in the first 4 years of like leaving college. And now like I need to go find out what I want to do with my life. Like what I need to go find a job that I absolutely love. So it was definitely challenging, but I had a lot of support. So I would say it was a pretty smooth transition.
oh, that's awesome. And then last thing, because this is a college football podcast, so I want to walk it back a little bit. So you won the national championship in
Mm,
2016. You were on the team that lost it in 2015. I was on that team too. You actually had the last touchdown catch in that
mm.
game. I don't know if people know that. Um, tell me like what was the difference between that 2015 and 2016 team, and then what was it like during that national championship, and then obviously winning it in the end? Like, can you walk us through that a little bit? I know that's a
Yeah.
long span of time.
No, I mean, that's probably like one of my favorite times because I mean, I had a decision to make after my junior year when we lost it. Because I mean, I had a great year, finalist for the Mackey Award, had the opportunity to go pro, which I think if I would have, I would have got drafted a lot higher, which could have worked out better financially for me. But I think that was one of the best decisions I made. I don't know what it was about that team. My like our or my we're in the same class, so our junior year.
I graduated early, and I was like, I ain't playing.
Yeah,
I'm getting out
I,
of here.
I don't know what it was. I think it's just the fact we've never been there before. There was a lot of things that happened that we didn't expect were going to happen. That onside kick, OJ Howard going for 150 yards on a screen and go,
Yeah,
which he did the same thing my
three
senior year
times.
in the exact same play.
Yeah. Well,
So
and three people getting sent home on a Greyhound bus right before the
yeah,
game.
so I don't know what it was about that junior team because I think the junior team was a lot more talented than our senior team. I will say. But then again, we were missing Mike Williams. So I don't know what it was. I think it's just the fact that we've never been there before. We didn't know what to expect. We were kind of just riding on a high horse. We were undefeated that year. So I think that played a lot into it. Even the coaches have never been there before. So no, I don't think anybody knew what to expect. Nobody, it was just a lot of stuff that was thrown at us. And then senior year, I remember just going into like the 110 test. And I mean, we had Ben Bolwer, who's probably like was probably the guy leader wise on our team. And I remember we got done with our 110s. I think we ran like 17 of them was the test. And then Ben's like, hell no, like we came up short last year. Let's run 3 more. And I remember Jay Gear. I'm like, hell no. Like, we're not doing that. We ended up running 3 more. So I think it's just the fact that we had guys that went to that natty that junior year and lost and just had that taste in their mouth, knew what it was like, knew what it felt to get there. And we just had an edge going into that whole season, even though the season was stressful. I mean, like there was a lot of close games, overtime, NC State, losing my last game at Clemson against Pitt. There was like definitely a lot of curveballs that came at us, but I think the mindset was different, just having been there before. And then the reason I came back was I really believed that we could win it. I mean, everybody from my junior year, we had Sean coming back, we had Mike coming back. We had a lot of pieces. The whole offense was pretty much coming back. So we had a lot of pieces that I felt very confident that we could get back to the Natty. And luckily enough, I mean, I made the right choice and I gambled on it, but it worked out ultimately.
Yeah. Now I have one issue. So we've had some pretty big quarterbacks come through Clemson the past decade. You know, you got
Mhm.
Taj, you got Deshaun, you got Trevor Lawrence. Kelly B was pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't put him in the legendary status, but he was definitely pretty good. Who the hell gave Trevor Lawrence the right to take your number that fast after you left?
Man, I wish they had retired that number before he got there.
I mean, what the hell? But I will say, like, NIL hadn't become a thing right when he came into Clemson, so it's not
Mhm.
like people were walking around with 16 Lawrence jerseys. It just said 16, so you could say it was still
But
your
they took
number.
it straight to the embroidery and said, "Hey, put Lawrence on the back of this."
Yeah, and
Well,
this
I did luck out that year because that's when they switched. And like, you can't sell 4 jerseys. We know why you are. You need to sell the year. And luckily enough, it was 2016, so everybody had a 16 jersey.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish they would retired it because I know they're going to definitely retire that jersey in his name. I mean, I think he's probably the best quarterback to walk through Clemson, and I think he definitely has the opportunity to win a Super Bowl.
Really,
Oh yeah,
really. Oh yeah, and
Jacksonville is like
yeah,
my sleeper pick this year to win the whole thing.
yeah.
They had a
No,
lot of faith.
and he's excellent. I mean, just his talent is unbelievable. And you know,
Yeah.
I didn't get to see Trevor up close. I mean, I don't know if you did too. If you came back and watched some practices, but watching Deshaun, like, you know, my our sophomore year,
Mhm.
um, him versus Cole Stout is like, are we seeing the same thing? This dude's pretty damn talented. You know, talking
Yeah.
about Deshaun, and I remember sitting in summer camp, and Dad was like, "Hey, these guys are pretty even. We're going to give it to an older guy." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess." I mean, I'm over there working with the defense most of the time. I'm on the scout team. I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe he's struggling a little bit in against the scout team. They throw him in there against UNC on Thursday night, and he just destroyed them. I mean, so like I'm a little biased towards Deshaun in that situation, and it seemed like Deshaun had more of that dog in him, but
Yeah.
T Law is just he was unbelievable too.
Yeah.
We were very
We've been
we were
having a lot of
spoiled.
good quarterbacks go through Clemson, like a
So
lot.
and recently you got blown up on TigerNet again for one of your takes on K Klubnik. So you know, do you want to dive into that, or do you want to kind
Yeah,
of
I didn't think that was gonna go as viral as it did, and I hate being that guy because I remember just playing in games and then searching my name after and just seeing all these people just bash you and bash you and bash you. So I didn't use his name. I just said number 2. But anyways, it got blown up. It's it's just hard to watch. Like I'm a I'm a Clemson fan now. Obviously, I went there, played a lot of football there. And I like to think of Clemson as like one of the top 3 teams in college football. I mean, ever since college football playoffs started, we've won 2 national championships out of it. We've been to like 4 national championships. So
6 playoff appearances? We've been there every year essentially.
I just hold us to a standard of kind of like Alabama. Like even if Alabama isn't going to the playoffs or whatever it is, they only lost 1 game. They only lost 2 games.
Right.
Like
They're in a New York Six bowl. It's not
they're
like they're balling
rebuilding
out.
every year. Like they're not. We say they had a failed season because they lost 1 game, but ultimately, like they're still whatever 10-2 or whatever it may be. So that's why it hurts me so much to see Clemson doing so bad, and I don't know what it is. I mean, the OC, he hasn't been there long enough for me to be too upset. The quarterback that he had at TCU was a white boy that ran like a 4.5, like uber athletic. So I don't know if it's like the OC and then like K just doesn't fit the scheme, or if they're just not there yet. I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the coaching because like a lot of people point fingers at that, and I think that also plays a role in it. I mean, when you look at the coaches that we had, there was so much experience on that team,
Right.
and I absolutely love what Coach Sweeney does. I mean, he doesn't dabble in the portal. He likes to promote people from within, which I 100% agree with. But I feel like that's where we don't have the edge anymore. It's like it's kind of I feel like it's all portal now, and then it's all about going out and getting talent. Which I was very excited when they got this OC. I'm like, hell yeah, go out there, spend money, like get somebody.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't know what it is. It's not even one thing. Another thing is, I was talking to somebody. It's like we don't have like a guy on offense. Like
no, I think
normally
that's
we
different.
have like a first round receiver on offense. Like they're just a bunch of
They're very young.
I don't even know what it is. It's like
They're a bunch of supporting casts. It seems like I completely understand, and
yeah.
I think you know Cade's grown up a lot. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching him throughout the year. Between NC State and what he did at Georgia Tech are 2 totally different things. Those are 2 totally
Yeah.
different defenses, but you can see his decision making. It seems is where he's been struggling.
Yeah.
He seems a little over anxious, a little hyped. But it seems like he's starting to calm down a little bit. Notre Dame, I think he was hurt, but Georgia Tech, he looked good. We're going to find out this weekend
Hmm.
against UNC. And honestly, like that showed the world that Dabo's not just like some buddy dude when he kicks Brandon Streeter to the curb and has Garrett Riley come in. Like, hey, there is a standard, and I think Clemson will be back to it. Everyone wants to throw dirt on him because it seems like everyone hates Dabo, and I don't understand that because
I don't understand that at all.
he's one of the most authentic people in the world, and in this world where people are like, they want more of these coaches, like, oh, I don't want the coach speak answers where they're just saying blah 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 doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
When Dabo's in front of a microphone, he's telling you the truth. And I
Yeah.
promise you, he's coming right off that microphone into the locker room, into the team meeting room, and telling us the same exact thing.
That's why I tell everybody. That's like the number one question I get asked. Like, what's Dabo like? And I'm like, whatever you guys see. I answer it the same way every time. Like, whatever y'all see on TV or the radio, like that's who he is. Like, he doesn't act this way and then switch. Like, that's exactly who he is. And that's how I answer that question every time. And I get asked it so much.
To a T. I probably don't get asked near as much as you because no one knows who the hell I am. But when people do ask me, I say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Same person on TV as how many times did we hear BYOG before the Notre Dame game?
Exactly.
How many times did we hear that? So I mean,
and the dancing in the locker room and everything. It's just who he is. Like he's an awesome dude. I mean, I'm not going to go out here and grab a beer with him. We're not like that. But he's just a special guy, and I don't know how people like bag on him. I mean, he won. Like he turned that whole program around.
Right. Clemson was irrelevant.
It's crazy to think.
I mean, when you're getting recruited, Clemson's last big game was them getting demolished by West Virginia.
Yeah.
Now, I know Dabo was there, but like Tommy Bowden, the coach before that, the best season he had was 9-4.
Yeah.
They want to fire Dabo, and he's about to go 9-4 this year. So it's like
it doesn't make sense. But I think we do have two tough games, and especially with South Carolina being in South Carolina, and we lost last year, makes me a little nervous. But I'm enjoying this role as a fan very much. Though I love this.
Fun. It feels a lot better too after the game. You don't have as many bruises, do you?
Oh yeah, very. I might be a little drunk, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, that's good. You feel good after that.
Exactly.
But listen, Leggett, I really appreciate you coming on this podcast. It means the world to me. You're one of my favorite players watching at Clemson. You were one of my favorite people when we were playing at Clemson. We sat right in front of each other in the team meeting room. I had a blast playing with you. Had a blast in this podcast. If you ever want to come back on, you ever want to talk about number 2 again, you reach out. We'll give you a platform to talk on. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and go Tigers.
I appreciate you too, Will.